Okay, let's talk about number 4. Okay, look at that. We're gonna talk about the meaning of ramp up. Okay, so like if your function f is ramps up from 0 to h, right? So what does that mean? It's basically like, it was 0 at t0. It is a ramp up. It is not discontinuous, but it is continuous, a ramp up and going down. Okay, so like let me give you the graph of this one. Okay, here we go. Okay, so at the beginning it was 0, but at t0 it is ramp up until h, and this point is t0 plus k and going down. Okay, this is the like the meaning of ramps up from 0 to value of h. Okay, so like, well, look at that, and we are familiar with this one because we talked about unit step function already. Okay, we can talk about this function as the like, piecewise defined function form, but also we can write this one as the unit step function form. Okay, but it might be better because like we have to use the Laplace transform. Okay, so let me try to write this one. Okay, here we go. Then this guy can be written like this way. And first of all, think about this line. It is straight line, right? And we can find the linear equation. Okay, here we go. So first of all, slope, which is rise over run, that is equal to, okay, let me say like t instead. Okay, it is like the like from 0 to h, right? Which is h minus 0, and t0 plus k minus t0, which is k. So that is your slope. Okay, so well, we know the point. Let me use this point, okay, t0 comma 0, right? And point is t0 comma 0. Then we know one important like a linear equation formula, right? Which is y minus y1 equal to m times x minus x1, which is t minus t1. Then y minus y1, which is 0, equal to m, we found it, h over k times t minus t1, which is 0. Okay, then I can say my linear equation is y equal to h over kt minus h over k t0. Is it okay? Okay, so, or like it might better to keep that form. Let's say y equal to h over k t minus t0. Okay, now let me try to write this function as the like, unit delta function. Here we go. So y t is equal to, like from 0 to 0 it was 0, but like from t0 to t0 plus k it is function, right? So it will be like this way: h over k t minus t0 function is working from u t0 t to u t0 plus kt. Okay, and then after then, like it is the just like, horizontal line with y equal h, right? And plus h times u t0 plus k t. Okay, let me combine your u t0 plus kt. Okay, and h over k t minus t0. Like my son is like dancing like beside me. He's dancing. U t0. Come on, dude. And minus h over k. Stop. T0 plus k t plus h u t0 plus k t. Okay, we can combine this two, right? It is equal to h over k t minus t0 u t0 t, and plus, let me write this one first. Okay, h minus h over k t minus t0, and we have like u t0 plus k t. Okay, I know like the algebra was a little bit complicated, but we can like this, okay? But like at this moment, I would love to like factor h of k out, but it's kind of option, but like it might better, okay? Because like, Like there is purpose to use the Laplace transform. Let me do one more step, okay? It is equal to h over k and big parentheses, and we have let me write unit step function first, okay? U t0 t times t minus t0. That's perfect form to apply the Laplace transform, right? And plus u t0 plus k t, and this is a little bit tricky, okay? We take like h over k out, but there's only k here, that you have to multiply k minus t minus t0. That's it. Thank you.